Right. Tom, good morning. What we're going to talk about today is your experiences, broadly speaking, in piping and your influences. So let's start back the wee tune for Darvel, up the Irvine Valley, just from me. I'm now in Kilmarnock, and we've got to watch the cleanliness of Waterbury, you crowd for Darvel, you know.
What you should mention, of course, with Darvel is Alexander Fleming.
Aye.
Fleming was born in Darvel.
Yeah.
And I reckon he's the second most famous guy that ever came out of Darvel.
And who's the other one?
Well, my old man.
And what was his name?
TSpeirs, John Hamilton Muir Speirs. Known as Jock. He preferred to be known as Jock.
Okay. Was it there all his life, or did he come from somewhere else?
No, he was born in Darvel. He was born in the Black Bull in Darvel. And he spent the great majority of his life. He had army service. He went to Australia for a short spell to attempt to set up a lace industry there, because Darvel is the centre of the lace industry.
Absolutely.
And when it didn't succeed and my mother took ill, he just came back home. That would be late 50s.
Aye.
So he came back to Darvel, and that's when he joined Johnny Walker's.
Right.
And eventually he set up a pipe band there and took them to grade 1.
And that Johnny Walker pipe band, that lasted for a long number of years, even after your father.
Well, it was well into the 70s before it faded away.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was a very good band.
It's an excellent
very
band.
Good band.
Well known in Ayrshire, which is a wee bit of a desert now as far as the pipe bands are concerned, and even their piping.
Well, I was through there recently, and I heard one or two reasonably good players.
Aye.
And all young and, got a long way to go in piping, but with a lot of potential.
Well, thankfully that's the way it's going in Scotland now. There's a burgeoning interest in the young people in piping, drumming, and they're all pretty well taught now.
Well, that's right. I think the school influence is a big element of it.
Aye. Long may it
and
continue.
The army influence has virtually disappeared now.
It's disappeared, the emphasis is.
Sadly.
Aye, absolutely. So, who did your father, Jock, learn his piping from?
Well, he was taught originally in Galston Boys Brigade. And he then moved on to be taught by a man, John McKinnon, who had come from Fort William and who stayed in Crooked Home, which is just outside Kilmarnock.
Yes.
Quite close to where you stay, in fact.
Absolutely, just across the bypass.
That's right. And John McKinnon was a competitive piper, a very good player. I can still remember the crack off his burrel, a tremendous burrel. And I mean, he was an old man when I knew him.
Right.
But he had taught my father, he taught one or two players. He taught an Angus MacLean, who was the son of the police sergeant in Galston. And he taught a very good player called Hughie Gorton from Kilmarnock.
Hughie's still alive, yeah.
Yes, a very, very good player.
Didn't
play Peabrook, but an excellent light music player.
Playing at an open sea.
Did he?
Aye, Hugh, aye. Taught all the youngsters open sea as well, aye.
No.
Because, it's a fact, because I got Stuart McCallum to teach after Hughie had him, and it took me 18 months to get get Stuart McCallum to play the closed sea.
Well, I was never aware of that.
Aye.
In fact, I would question that.
No, it's a fact. Because I sat many a night with Stuart trying to get him to close the sea,
Well, Hughie was an excellent player. Excellent player.
I spoke to Hugh about that open sea. I'm sorry to get on about this, but it's an interesting point in the piping that we've never discussed. And Hugh took the view that it was because of the pitch the chanter configuration holes that it was a truer sea.
Well, the older chanter, the A chanter, you mean?
Aye.
It may have been. I mean, I was taught originally the open sea, but my father then made me play close.
Aye. Well, it's a thing that it was always hanging about the fringes of piping right into the 50s, I thought, anyway.
Well, certainly, I mean, some of the older tutor books that I've got in there.
The Logan's tutor had an open sea, didn't it?
Yes, and McFedrin's tutor,
Aye.
and there's one or two others, and they all play the open sea. They all depict the open sea. But nowadays, you just wouldn't get away with it.
No. And you can't tell the difference when it's open or
Oh,
closed.
of course.
Very much so, especially with the modern chanter. What age did you start yourself?
Well, my father was demobbed in 45,
Uh-huh,
and he started teaching me virtually then.
uh-huh,
So I would be 4.5, 5.
okay.
I don't remember. He certainly didn't have a shortened chanter.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I know now that my grandson, for instance, would have great difficulty getting the finger spread in the bottom hand. I don't remember having that difficulty.
It's because of Darvel porridge, eh?
Ah, well, it was
Okay, so, but you progressed, I've read elsewhere, and to the extent that you were actually starting to play in wee competitions at the age 7.
Well, the first competition I played in was at Anbank.
Uh-huh,
I can remember I played Captain Norman or Ewing in the March competition, and I was
Okay.
7 years old then.
yep, uh-huh, uh-huh.
And I was 4th out of 4.
My goodness. How did you manage with the pipes and all this? It was a full-size set of pipes, or?
Full size. There's a picture of me over there
Aye.
with them.
We'll maybe capture that along with other photographs at the end and display it on the Facebook site. So, your father taught you right through?
No, what happened was that from age 6,
Right,
he was very friendly with a guy called Jim Jeffrey, who worked originally in Henderson's and then set up business with a guy Williamson, who had also worked in Henderson's, and they set up Williamson and Jeffrey and in a shop in Tureen Street in the Gorbals in Glasgow.
mm-hmm.
And at age 6 I was taken up to Tureen Street, and Jim Jeffrey gave me my first lesson from him in the shop then.
What was the shop selling there? What did it
They
do?
made pipes.
Bagpipe.
They made bagpipes.
Right,
And thereafter, Jim Jeffrey used to travel from Glasgow down to Darvel most weekends to teach me. And he was a great guy, great
Aye.
teacher.
aye.
Great teacher.
That's very kind of him, travelling all that distance, eh?
Ah, well, that was the type of guy he was. You know, my father and he were great. They were both in the Rovers.
Right.
That's how they had met. They met through the Rover Scouts.
Right,
My father was pipe major of the Darvel Rover Scouts,
uh-huh,
and Jim Jeffrey was pipe major of the Maryhill Rover Scouts.
right.
And he had contacts into the HLI in Glasgow and Bobby Reid, of course. And he used to come down maybe three Sundays out of 4 and teach me.